Welcome, everybody, to the beautiful Homestead Miami Speedway in Miami, Florida. I am Kenny Kibbe, along with my co-host and director tonight, David Christie, to bring you guys the WSL NASCAR Series US race, round number 7 here at Miami Homestead. Round 7 of 8, the championship is coming down to the wire this evening, and let's get right into it with the track introduction. Like I said, Homestead Miami Speedway, it's a mile and a half, but it's very different from most mile and a halves. Not really a cookie cutter track. The shape of this one a lot different than all the other mile and a halves that the NASCAR racers go to. And David, these drivers will really be searching for grip despite the track conditions cooling off as we enter the evening tonight.
Good evening, Kenny. Thanks for having me back here in the commentary booth. I'm starting to make a regular thing of this. I'm thinking I should maybe take this up full time, but thankfully I'm definitely not. Listen, we had a great effort out in the earlier EU outfit this evening. I mean, it's so difficult to describe what we saw there because Miami, like I said, isn't like any of the other tracks that we've been to. You were seeing two separate lines going on, the high line and the low line. Neither side really having a benefit, other than the higher side tending to wear out the tyres a little bit faster. Also, tyre wear going to be a huge thing tonight. We saw an EU effort earlier on. Three cautions or 4 cautions, and all of the pit stops were taken down then. So lap 25 to 30, Kenny, that's when the tyres are going to go out. But we are in for a huge night tonight.
Yeah, David, I'm glad you brought up the tire wear factor because this has historically been one of the most hard-wearing track surfaces on the NASCAR circuit. This track hasn't been paved in a while, and the shape of it is really puts itself towards wearing those tires out. You really have to back off the throttle and slow down quite a bit to get the car stopped in these sharp corners. And again, like you said as well, you'll see drivers up in that top groove. But in my opinion, I think that whoever can make that bottom line work and be able to make passes on the bottom is going to win this race tonight. But as we look forward here to qualifying at the moment, most drivers have put down at least one time, with Emily Howe at the top of the board at the moment with a 33.047, over 0.2 of a second above second place Cass Silliman, the two teammate drivers there, and Harry Wills in third place, who won the last U.S. race. So fast drivers up towards the front, as we should expect. But David, I'm always excited about this race here at Homestead because of the fact that it's not going to be a one-groove racetrack. You're going to see drivers forced to be experimental in the lines that they run tonight.
Oh, look, absolutely. We saw quite a few of the drivers taking part here in the US one, taking part in the EU one earlier on. All I'm going to say is Harry Wills had an absolute stinker earlier on. He's going to be hoping to reverse those fortunes, Kenny. But again, it's all about the qualifying. You have to get yourself up there in the sort of top 5 to be in it to win it. We are more than likely going to have a couple of yellow flags. The weird thing I've always found is that the US troops seem to be a little bit more caution happy than the EU crowd, but certainly the high line, I think, is going to be very favourable to a lot of the drivers. It's going to be the faster line, but I think that you're going to have to be very careful. Watch for some accidents around about, like say lap 20-25, when the cars start sliding about.
Yeah, and I'm actually seeing, at least in qualifying, Emily Howe, who has the fastest time so far. She actually made the bottom work in both 1 and 2 and in 3 and 4 to get that fast time down. And that's what I've noticed in my experience is early on you can make the bottom work for a quick time, but it's not necessarily one where you want to be for every single lap of the run. Now, I did jump into these cars and run a few practice laps just in a kind of a baseline setup, but I noticed that it was really difficult to get the car stopped in these corners. The car really wanted to push on entry, but it was really loose from middle and off. And I noticed in the EU race, a lot of the drivers were struggling with that loose condition from about the 50% mark of the corner on off. And that's going to be a watching point as we go through the event tonight because you're going to be wearing the front tires on entry and then wearing the rear tires on exit. And it's going to be really important to stay smooth with not only your inputs on the wheel, but your inputs on the throttle and brake as well. It's just that's what makes Homestead Miami such a dynamic track. It's a place where driver skill really comes into play. In my opinion, a little bit more than at some of the other mile and a halfs that we go to.
Yeah, for sure. And here's just a little bit of a shape up of how the championship is so far. Harry Wills out front right now, 217 points, 2 points ahead of Lilac Zare. I am going to offer a slight sneaking suspicion that Harry Wills is going to lose that top spot tonight for sure. Lilac Zare in second place, as we said. Justin Delano down in 199, and Cass Silman in fourth with Dean Timms in fifth, just a point behind Cass as well. Steve Martinez in sixth with Emily Howe in seventh. TJ Handley in eighth position, and Eric Kalaga in ninth with Errol Erexoy rounding out your field. But just looking at that championship table, I wanted to give you some comparison with the EU crowd that we've got, because we had I'm trying to remember, I think it's Sean McDonald or Sean Donald.
Sean Campbell.
Sean Campbell,
Campbell,
that's
yeah.
exactly it, yeah. Who's leading the championship coming into this round by a similar margin. It was about 20 points that he had, and he did not finish the race tonight. And it's now we've got 5 cars all separated by about 10 points going into the final round. It is absolutely insane. So this championship definitely isn't over, and any one of those, I think maybe top 5, 6, 7 cars, and in fact maybe even down to TJ Handley in 8th, if they get a good run out tonight, it keeps them in with this championship.
Yeah, for sure. It's been pretty close. And, Harry Wills is actually a new points leader coming into this week. Lilac Zero, I believe, was a points leader going into Pocono last time out. And Harry Wills, of course, came out of there victorious. And Lilac had a good run in that race as well. Just, didn't come away with a victory. And that was just enough for Harry Wills to find himself at the point in the points standings. But again, it's very close as we go on through these last two rounds. And this round here at Homestead is really kind of the last round on the schedule where you have pretty much complete control over your own destiny, whereas the last week is going to be at Talladega, which is going to be, there's obviously driver skill involved there too, but so many more outside factors with the draft and all of that fun stuff. So we'll be looking forward to that race in round number 8. But here you're kind of controlling your own destiny. I expect the crowd to kind of spread out here, and we'll really find out who is really comfortable at this track, because this track is not conducive to everybody. So you can definitely tell who this is going to suit and who it won't. And I think drivers who have run both the EU and the US splits in the same day here will possibly be an advantage.
Yeah, and we just saw from Jeff Carollo there, that was exactly what we were warning about, was the fact that those back tyres are going to end up growing. But with that said and done, let's get the grid for qualifying.
Yeah, so on pole we have the 83 car of Emily Howe, and starting next to her will be Cass Silliman in the 25 car. Lilac Zier will be in third place, and next to her will be Harry Wills in the 95 car. Thomas Fisher will run at the top 5, and sixth place will be Dean Timms. Eric Kulaga will be in 7th, followed by TJ Hanley in 8th. Ninth place will be Jeff Carollo, and 10th will be Drew Neubauer. 11th will be Steven Martinez. 12th will be Justin Delano. And rounding out the last row will be John Casey and Henry Wyndham. They were the only two drivers who did not put out a qualifying time. But luckily for them, the field's relatively short, so not the worst field position for them. I was going to bring that up to you, David, because looking forward into the kind of the points championship here, not a huge point spread between first and last because of a shorter field now. But again, it's going to I mean, everybody who's still driving is quite fast, so it's very easy to come away with either a first place or a last place.
Yeah, that's going to be the difficult problem for tonight. At least there's going to be some hopefully good points on offer for a lot of the drivers. The issue is that you get lulled into that false sense of security, Kenny, with the fact that there's less drivers. So you think, oh well, it's going to be much easier for me to get through tonight. And yeah, that's maybe not necessarily going to be the case. We're certainly about to find out. As I said, 3 to 4 cautions that we had in the EU race, all of them pretty evenly timed out. It was about 30 laps apiece, which meant that, 30 to 35 laps apiece. That meant that we got 3 pit stops in for the entire race, and that, to be honest, is what I'm really kind of expecting here. I don't think the tyres can go any longer than that, but it's all up to these drivers how they decide to handle themselves tonight here.
For sure, and I also noticed that Henry Wyndham did not grid up. He is not in the session, so it looks like we will start here with 13 cars on the grid, being led right now by Emily Howe. These two kind of peachy-looking cars on the front row, Howe and Silliman. They were both very quick at Pocono. Neither of them came away with the victory, but they were both fighting it out in the top 5 all night long. So here we go. Pace car is left the racing surface. Emily Howe will bring them to the green flag. And here we go. We are underway here at Homestead, Miami, Florida. A good even start by Howe and Silliman. Silliman will have the high line. The bottom line may be advantageous to start here with cold tires, but all these drivers will be tiptoeing their way through the first few corners as we're kind of fanned out here, still 2 by 2 down the back straightaway for the first time. Cass Silliman still on the outside, has nudged herself just ahead of Emily Howe down into turn 3, and we're going to be side by side nearly this entire opening lap, and now Howe will clear into the lead as we complete lap number 1.
Yeah, this is exactly what we saw from the EU lot, as well as you're seeing Harry Wills trying to have a look up the inside of Lilac Zier there. Lilac, she's definitely sure not to be taking that one sitting down from the likes of Harry. But this is something that we didn't see from the EU lot, is this intense racing for the first couple of laps. It all fanned out very, very quickly for the European lot, and that's a big mistake there from Lilac Zier there. You saw catching that front left wheel onto the apron there. That allows Harry Wills to get the draft.
Yeah, and Zier actually got up into the outside wall there while you were talking there, David. Just a little bit of a scrape, not going to hurt that car a whole lot. But like I talked about in the pre-show, Wills is going to actually try to get to her outside, and just barely, as we do have a car off the pace. That's Drew Neubauer. It looks like he will continue. He had some pretty hefty contact, and that's the thing here about Homestead Miami is any kind of accidents that fall below the racing line generally does not bring out a caution, or with this small field, if there's no other cars that are passing by, it will also not bring out a caution. So we may see a lot of incidents that do not bring out a yellow flag. As we look at Wills now up into 3rd place, but these drivers do not look too comfortable right now with these cars.
They really don't, and I've got to be honest, I'm really not impressed with the setup on Harry Wills' car. If you look at the car, it's just fighting him all the time. Look at how much he's having to fight that car just to keep it in a straight line there, Kenny.
Yeah, and I noticed, I mean, these cars are so sensitive on cold tires in general, but I did notice specifically here at Homestead Miami that these cars were really, really loose on throttle, and that's a problem with these new Gen 7 cars because of how twitchy the steering is. It's almost too responsive at times, and it makes it so hard to catch a slide. So these drivers doing a fantastic job keeping their cars mostly straight anyway. Wills is way up at the wall, actually in the fence. He's scraping all the way through turn 3 and 4. That's not going to do a ton of damage, but it's going to slow him down big time. As you see Thomas Fisher come up behind him, he's going to think better of trying to make a move there, but actually see Drew Neubauer coming out of the pits after a fast repair. that's already been taken. But Harry Wills, we've seen how good he's been at nearly every other track on the schedule, struggling here early.
And that is that's exactly what we saw earlier on tonight in the EU affair. Really just does not have the measure of that car. He is going to end
He's up in the fence again.
Yep, he's going to find himself either into the wall or in a wreck. That's the long and the short of it here. Seeing Justin Delano here down into 6th position as well. That's been a decent start for Justin, up 6 positions on that race start there.
Yeah, and I kind of like what Justin's doing here early on. You know, if you're at all reluctant to running that high line, then just why not try something completely different? Run a middle or a low line. If you can be disciplined about it, you can really take advantage of it. And if you're not spending half the corner sideways, it doesn't really matter if it's the slower line if the other drivers are sliding around. So Delano doing a great job. Trying to catch up to Fisher and Wills. We're looking up in front now. Silliman trying to make a move on Howe. These two drivers have really separated themselves from Lilac Zier back in 3rd. And you see Silliman running that low line. I like that. I really like trying that different line because that's what you're going to have to do if you're going to really make up a bunch of spots, because it looks like a lot of the drivers out there are not going to want to give up that high line, despite it being a little bit treacherous on the early going, at least on corner entry. We're already seeing some black stripes on the outside walls.
And that's exactly it. It's about, you know, being comfortable with the setup with the car. It's about being comfortable with the car itself as well, Kenny, and just being able to confidently put that car where it goes very, very well. And that's exactly what these two are doing just now, Cass Silliman and Emily Howe, side by side. We've seen this before in the previous race as well. And, you know, quite honestly, these two will be doing this for many, many laps as well. We are going to have to watch out, though, is that number 83 on the outside, Emily Howe. Those tyres are going to wear out about 2 to 3 laps earlier than Cass Silliman on the inside there.
Well, here's one thing to think about, David. You know, that if these cars are going to be loose, you know, then the top side, trying to get the momentum and really keep your foot on the gas is going to probably wear the rear tires out. However, the more steering input you put in on the bottom side may wear out those front tires quicker. It's all going to come down to how these cars are set up, if they're more built to be on the tighter side or the looser side. You see Emily Howe prevailing so far, and you're taking a look there we go, looking at the front again. Silliman kind of dropping back a few car lengths there, but you know, in the end, it's going to come down to how the cars are set up, but it's also going to come down to how you drive into these corners. If you really push the entry really hard, you're going to really scrub the rubber off of your front tires. If you're trying to get the car to stop, if you're really stabbing on the gas on the exit and you're spinning your tires, getting the car sideways on exit, you're really going to wear out the rears. So it's really a management game, and that's why you're going to see drivers experiment with their lines, and kind of, you know, the pace is not going to stay the same throughout the run.
On board with Cass Silliman here, and the two of them fighting these different lines here. The one thing you pointed out earlier was the fact that if the rear tyres wear out, you're going to notice it on corner exit. That is 100% accurate there, Kenny. And what you normally find is that you hear the engine roaring into life as they try and stab on the accelerator, and then you'll hear the pitch of it just go up, you know, exponentially as the rear tyres just let go of any grip whatsoever, and by the time they've realised it's too late, they're already facing sideways.
Yeah, for sure, and like I said before, it's been very difficult to catch these cars. I want to take a look back at about 5th place as we look at Thomas Fisher. He's been really putting some pressure on Harry Wills, but amongst that, you also have Justin Delano, who has done a really good job just sticking to that kind of mid to lower line, while these two drivers up ahead is, Wills again up into the fence just a little bit. Delano is just stuck to this bottom line, and I'm really curious if we do have a long green flag run to see which of these cars is going to have the longevity on tires, because Delano's just been religious to this bottom line, and the two cars he's battling have been religious to the top line, and Delano's been making really good gains here, staying very disciplined on the bottom. He just doesn't have the momentum on the exit that Fisher's got at the moment, but he has not been making many mistakes and really been capitalizing on the 92 and the 95 cars, just sliding around a bit. And oh, he's Will's up in the wall again on the exit of turn 2. Again, I don't think he's really damaging the car much, but he's just killing his momentum.
I love the fact that that's actually his strategy, that he's actually wall riding that car up in front of number
Oh, he's
95.
really
And,
loose.
oh, he still holds it though. How did he? Oh no, there we go. That's it. It's all done.
Oh, and that's going to take out Fisher and Delano here, and that will bring out a caution. And Delano did just get the inside fence there. I thought he was going to keep it off the wall. Um, he may be able to continue without doing a fast repair there, but that's really, really unfortunate. If we can take a look at the replay there, but man, that just shows just how difficult it is to save these cars. You know, Will's got into a slide, and we kind of started thinking that he was going to save it, and then it's just so easy to just overcorrect, and that's exactly what he did, and he just nosed straight into the outside fence, and Fisher had nowhere to go, and then Fisher came down and clipped Delano, took all three of them out. Fisher with heavy front end damage from the impact on the inside fence, and we'll have to see if Delano pits for his fast repair, but those are two really fast cars with heavy damage early.
Absolutely, and the thing with that is as well is you saw that there. It's a little thing of Harry Wills stopping to make sure that Thomas Fisher can get out before him. But essentially, you know, Harry knows that accident was on him. There's not much he could have done to save that, but he knows that was on him. So yeah, the cars will get down into pit lane. They'll get the repairs done. But oh man, that's just it's such a shame to see.
Yeah, and that's pretty early to be using a fast repair too, and so now Wills is going to have to pretty much be mistake free from now on because you know he doesn't have that fast repair to play with anymore, and but it was a pretty clean run up until that point. Drivers are in their pit boxes now, and look like Steven Martinez might have missed his pit box by just a bit. But it looks like it's going to be probably 4 tires for these drivers, and this will not be the only time we'll see the drivers on pit lane, as it'll be probably 20 to 30-ish laps, so we will see on a tank of gas, and we didn't quite get to the 20-lap mark on that green flag run, but looks like Howe wins the race off of pit road, followed by Silliman, Timms, Martinez, Kulaga, and then I wasn't sure if that was Casey or Zier there, but it looked like Jeff Carollo has stayed out. We'll have to see if he comes around it on the next pace lap in pits.
Now that's either incredibly clever of Jeff Carollo or incredibly unwise. We're about to find out very shortly if there's a there we go. So it's not really going to affect him too much because he comes in pits anyway. I thought he was maybe going to try and gamble and stay on, and if there was another pit, you know, another yellow flag in the next 5 laps or so, or 10 laps, you might have been okay. But yeah, you might as well stick with the group at this point in the race and just see how that all pans out.
Yeah, in this WSL racing series, the drivers have unlimited sets of tires in the pits waiting for them, so really the only incentive to ever staying out when everybody else pits is just for track position, and really that's only going to come into play really late in the race if we think there's going to be just a late restart or if tires are just not wearing out at all, and we're in neither of those situations at the moment. So looks like Carollo just wants to pit and get at least 1 extra lap of fuel on board, and also just, you know, be into the back of the field where it's possibly a place where he can be a little safer out there. So that will put Emily Howe back to the point with Silliman in second. Dean Timms finds himself up in third now, because remember, the drivers that were in, well, actually Lilac Zier was in third. She drops back to, looks like, 6th place. And the drivers who were behind her, that were Wills, Fisher, and Delano, they have all dropped back into the back portion of the top 10 because of their wreck. So a little bit of a changed up starting lineup here on this restart. It'll be interesting to see what Martinez and Timms can do from row 2 here.
Well, that's exactly what we're about to find out in the next lap or so here as the pace car gets ready to come in. It's going to be Emily Howe who takes the lead of this race ahead of Cass Silman, so picking up where things left off just now. And yeah, very, very interested to see how this one goes. As we said, Justin Delano still in the pit lane there. So, yeah, 20 laps gone. A little bit earlier than what we had earlier on, but still, I think this is starting to heat up very nicely here.
Yeah, and just to keep everyone in the loop here, looks like Justin Delano is just taking damage repair. He has not taken his fast repair, and he's actually just exiting pits right now, so he will be pretty far behind the rest of the field. I'm not sure he will actually catch up to the tail end of the field before they take the green flag, so he might need a yellow to kind of bring him back into contention as the pace car is off. And here comes Emily Howe on the inside with Cass Silliman to her outside once again. Here we go, green flag. Another very even start from both of these drivers as they scamper on away from row 2. That was Dean Timms and Steven Martinez. Lilac Zier behind there. You see her in the blue car trying to make it 3 wide, potentially for 3rd and 4th. A sweet move on the outside there. She will get by Martinez, and she's on the outside of Timms. And here's Harry Wills with a fresh car trying to follow her through as we're still side by side for the lead.
Amazing how quickly the fortunes can change there, but the problem with Harry Wills is that he's not changed his setup, so the car is just going to be equally as uncompliant as it was earlier on, unless it was early damage that sent him into the wall here. But I honestly think that he's going to keep scraping and scraping and scraping that wall, and will find himself in more of the same problems.
Yeah, he quite possibly could, but at least the track conditions are kind of improving. The track temps are dropping. It's down to 84 degrees. We started the session, I believe, at about 86. As the sun goes down, Will's still loose as he's still side by side to Lilac Zier there. He had just cleared for 3rd place, and now is being challenged once again. But I expect these cars to kind of tighten up just a bit if the track temps keep dropping. But yeah, like you said, David, Wills' setup is just it's aggressive to say the least. It's really loose, but again, I've seen a bunch of cars out there have a loose condition, so it might just be kind of something everybody's had to deal with, and maybe Will's just driving possibly a little too aggressively. One thing I know is that if you punish your rear tires too often, too early in a run, as we do have a caution on the racetrack, if you punish your rear tires too often, too early, it's hard to get that grip back throughout the rest of the run.
Oof, that is not much left on that front end of TJ Handley's car there. Very curious to see what on earth happened there. That happened about 30 seconds ago here. I bet it's the same again, yeah. Tail end just goes out. He ends up collecting John Casey and just straight into the wall. Very, very hard there. And if he's not already used his fast repair, if he still has his fast repair, he is going to be a very, very lucky young man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hanley has not used his fast repair yet. It'll be interesting to see if John Casey decides to take his fast repair. He has a decent amount of right front damage on his green and gray number 78 car, but yeah, that seems to be the toughest point on the track, is about the halfway mark of the corner and on. These drivers have really struggled to keep the car underneath them with a really tough loose condition. But David, it'll be interesting to see if the drivers decide to pit here. We only ran just a few laps, so they pitted on lap 17, and we ran maybe 5 laps of green flag racing, and it looks like there's our answer. Everybody is coming down pit lane. John Casey does stay out, at least for now, and also Dean Timms stays out. So we'll see. Dean Timms might actually stay out here. He might not pit, but the rest of the drivers here coming down pit lane. You're taking a look here at Cass Silliman as she pulls into her pit box. Emily Howe right in front of her. This will be a 4-tire stop.
I think, yeah, like, I think you roll the dice if you're Casey, or Tim's. Why not give it a go and see what happens there? But that is going to be the number 27, 25, a Cass Silliman coming out. But like we got what 5 laps done there after a restart. I honestly scratch my head with this US bunch because they're, yeah. I mean, let's face it. That was a solo accident there from TJ Handley. Just lost the car.
Yeah, and Dean Timms is not the only one who's staying out at the moment. Thomas Fisher, another driver, staying out, and John Casey. And remember, Thomas Fisher had to take his fast repair from the last caution that he was involved in. So I think it's actually a pretty good experiment to try out here to stay out. Because then if we get a late caution, if you've only run a few laps, you can kind of figure out how long you'll be able to last up front with your worn tires, even though they're, again, only slightly worn. But again, I think more than anything, I think Silliman and Howe's pace is really showing to be just better than the rest of the field, at least at the moment. So I'm not so sure that even if you do pull some strategy, that those drivers won't be able to come back through the field anyway. But again, I don't mind this play. It's early, and they will have a chance to kind of reset, and eventually tires will equalize anyway. So I think it's a good play from Dean Timms here. Get some clean air, run some laps up front, and just kind of see what you got.
And no, I absolutely agree. I think the thing with it is the fact that they know how fast Silliman and Howe are, and you kind of have to roll the dice, if that makes sense. You have to try something a little bit different just to make sure that you're still in that position. But it looks like we are getting ready to go here, and you can see there number 46 of Dean Timms here. Super curious because I think the lights are going to be off the pace car next time by.
Yeah, good point, David. If there's a driver or drivers who are, just faster than the rest of the field, or if you yourself feel like you don't have the pace to compete, you have to do something different than the leaders. You have to do some kind of different strategy and use that as an advantage to try to win one of these races. And again, this is an early time in the race to experiment. Even if they fall to dead last in the field, we're not done going down pit lane yet. So these drivers will have time to recover. But I am wondering here, if Fisher gets a good jump, he showed some pretty good speed early on. I'm curious to see if he can actually steal the lead from Timms. The top side has not been the worst place in the world on these restarts.
Just having a look who we've got in the order here. I'm going to say Lilac Zare is going to take the race win today. I'm calling it right now at lap 28 out of 100. So let's just throw that curveball right in there right now.
Well, she's back in ninth place at the moment. Hasn't had a great time on pit lane, but she's done very well on the track, keeping her track position, making some nice passes. And we saw the last time we had a restart, she made a really nice move up around the outside of a few drivers. But here we go, as Dean Timms has control of the field now. And first time he has led some laps this evening. And there he goes. He is across the start-finish line side by side here with Thomas Fisher. As we go down into turn one, Fisher drives it in deep. You see the gaggle of cars in behind. We have a three-wide battle with Wills on top there. He grabs 2 spots in one corner, and here comes Cass Silliman with a huge run down the backstretch into turn 3 as, just like I said, Thomas Fisher nabs the lead. And he's sideways in turn 3, trying to hold on, still sideways. And here comes Silliman, ready to steal the lead. Near contact off of turn 4.
Good God, the closing speed of Silliman was absolutely outrageous there. The speed she had coming out of that corner to take that lead, that was frightening. But have a look at Fisher, he's not done just yet. And you've still got Harry Wills up in the background as well. And that's Dean Timms still fancying a go here. So literally any one of these top 7 still in with a shout. And we've only done 30 laps, so we're not even 1/3 of the way through the race here.
Yeah, the aggression level is really high on these restarts. We have a side-by-side battle between Timms and now Emily Howe. has pushed into the mix here. She's trying to take fourth away from Tim's. Tim's kind of stuck on the bottom side. And here comes Wills trying to take away Fisher's spot there, and he's sideways once again. He really, oh, you see his car sideways in the back there. That's Martinez. He gathers it back up, and you see a side-by-side battle between Zier and Howe, and Zier making the bottom line work this time. She's showing a lot of versatility in that car, being able to make passes on both the top and the bottom side of the racetrack.
I love the fact that Zier is absolutely not having anything to do with Emily Howe right now. They're coming up to Harry Wills, and Lilac is like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere near that. You can take that line if you want to, but the problem is that I think Emily Howe and Harry Wills are going to be able to drag each other all the way through, and then Lilac just kind of gets left hung out to dry here. But 32 laps gone here. Cass Silliman still in the lead by almost well over a second over Thomas Fisher. It almost looks like we're going sort of 3 wide at points.
Yeah, and while these drivers battle it out, Silliman's really building up a gap, and she was arguably the fastest car on the racetrack. Wills is sideways again, in the fence again, and he loops it again down the back stretch this time. Relatively hefty contact on the outside wall, and remember, Wills has already used his fast repair. Now that car does look like it's still in drivable condition, but Wills is he's just pushing the limits of that car too hard, and I've seen him, he's cutting the wheel too hard under heavy throttle in the middle of these corners, and it's just, especially on on cold tires, it's just a no-no.
So, Kenny, do I get to say it yet? Do I get to remind us and the people at home about the new rule that WSL brought in about drivers spinning it all by themselves in an effort to curtail the driving standards? I think I'm going to have to send a little snarky message to Mr. Harry Wills to remind Mr. Harry Wills that Mr. Harry Wills has spun it twice by himself, I think third time, and he gets a rather severe talking to by himself.
And who knows what kind of handling characteristics that car will have anymore, because you see now on the screen that car does not have rear bumper cover, and some damage on both ends of that race car as we see drivers coming into the pits once again. The top 3 have stayed out, Silliman, Howe, and Carollo. Carollo, I'm guessing, will come around and make a pit stop later on, but Silliman and Howe will probably stay out here as the rest of the field comes down in pits. But yeah, David, that's tough. I mean, I'm not so sure that Wills might not have a fast enough car to really compete at this point, but now his car might be actually more of a challenge to handle than it was, even if it is slower because of all that damage. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. But yeah, just a rough start for that 95 car.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think you could handle the car not being fast, but not being controllable. That's a completely different issue to try and deal with. And yet again, it looks like, Kenny, we're going to be in for a very long night. Third caution in 35 laps here, and this is going to drag on a bit, I think.
Well, we'll have to see. The racing that we've seen under green flag conditions has been pretty ecstatic, really, and the driver you picked to win this thing, Lilac Zier, I've been really impressed with the moves that she's been making on the restarts, but she's been smart about it. I've noticed that if a move's not working out, she doesn't seem to be kind of overdriving, and she kind of just takes what the track's giving her and moves on from there, and just kind of settles in, wherever that may be in the field, and I like that. I've seen other drivers really kind of pushing the limits, being over aggressive. You've seen it bite Harry Wills a few times, and other drivers have had kind of close calls. But picking and choosing your battles here and being patient and disciplined, I think, is the winning mentality to have here at Homestead, Miami.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to be finding out. But there we go. Lights are out on the pace car already, so it is a super quick turnaround for this caution period here at Homestead, Miami. And this is, for me, this is a bit of a new thing completely. Brand new to seeing this track for the first time tonight here. And Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. It seems to be a huge challenge here for the drivers as we get ready to go for the restart.
Yeah, and of note, Jeff Carollo has stayed out. He is legitimately in third place there, did not pit under that last caution. Oh, and Lilac Zier just dove to the pits on that restart. Lilac Zier just dove straight to the pits as we're ready to go green here. Here we go. Cass Silliman brings them down to the green flag with Emily Howe on her outside this time. And they go down into turn 1 and 2 side by side yet again. Silliman with really good drive through turn 1 and 2 on the bottom, and her car is rotating really nicely right now as she flies down the backstretch with the lead and a good separation back to third place Thomas Fisher.
Yeah, that's a great restart there for Cass Silliman. Emily Howe trying to hold on to the back there, but have a look at the battle here with John Casey taking that position there from Thomas Fisher. It's a battle for the best of the rest right now as we go 3 wide down straight. A little bit of contact there on Jeff Carollo. That was, I believe, Thomas Fisher and Dean Timms all in amongst there as well. There, Dean Timms and Jeff Carollo coming to, I'd like to say blows. I think that was maybe a little bit of an exaggeration there, but Harry Rose will be able to pull his way through the crowd. He does seem to have the pace there as Jeff Carollo drops all the way to the inside there.
Yeah, Carollo actually lost it down the backstretch. Oh, I hope he doesn't come across the track. Okay, the track's clear, so we won't have any caution here, but he lost it off of turn 2 and kept it off the fence, though. A good job salvaging that car, but he will drop all the way back to the rear end of the top 10 and beyond. But I also, before the corner before that, saw Thomas Fisher just totally power slide it all the way through one of the turns there, and that's just, man, that's just going to roast your rear tires doing that early on in a run especially. But we're looking ahead there towards Cass Silliman. She has pulled away just a few car lengths ahead of Emily Howe. And again, these two drivers separating themselves from the rest of the field. And how about John Casey? Saw him with some damage early on, but John Casey, he's got his fast repair taken and having a pretty good run in third place, trying to hold off Dean Timms.
Yeah, he absolutely has. But I mean, how have they got nearly a 3-second gap already? What the heck is that about? That is incredible pace here as Casey trying to get devoured here by Justin Delano and Dean Timms right now. It's not been a case of, you know, John Casey's been holding the entire field up. It's just been the intense pace that Cass Silliman and Emily Howe has had. Also, what is going on with Lilac Zier? That's twice now into the pits, out the pits now for her, but that has been an absolute disaster.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be hardware issues. You know, that can definitely plague someone's chances. The good news is she's only 1 lap down at the moment. So if we get a caution, you know, she'll be right back on the lead lap, and she can possibly kind of flip pit strategy, stay out a little longer than everybody else, and probably hope for a caution if we get to that point on a long green flag run. But we'll have to keep an eye on her to see if she continues. But taking a look here at John Casey and Justin Delano going at it. Delano trying to recover again. Remember, he was running solidly in the top 5 earlier and got taken out by a wreck not as doing. And oh, there's Lilac Zier.
No.
Around for another caution.
And that's TJ Handley that's been involved in that one as well. Oh, you hate to see it. What on earth has happened there?
Oh, and it looks like it starts from TJ Handley again off of turn 4. Oh, and Lilac tries to avoid him. Oh, and then just spins herself out.
Yeah, that's... I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with TJ for that one because he knows better than that than to come straight back onto the track. He obviously tried to, or he thought he could hold on to it, but I mean, at which point you've kind of got to think about holding on to the brakes, calming that car down, getting it back under control, and you've got to feel for Lilac Zier. Her day is just going from bad to worse here.
Yeah, and in the end, TJ actually ends up with no damage on his race car, and you know, I have to put a little bit of fault on both drivers because Lilac was coming in hot there. She really didn't do a whole lot of slowing down there. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell what she was going for there. She thought that TJ was going to come way up the track, so she went low, and then TJ just came back down the track. So, but I mean, she came in with such a high rate of speed, probably thinking that we might not even get a caution, and that's probably why she wanted to keep her momentum up. But sometimes you just have to, you know, think of kind of the safety and well-being first and foremost there. And but it looks like both drivers will continue. Lilac just tapped the outside wall, so she should be fine. However, she will not get a free pass because she was part of the caution, so there will not be a free pass given on this caution. And looks like few more drivers have come into the pit lane. Silliman, Neubauer, Kulaga, Martinez, Carollo all came in for pit stops. Also, TJ Hanley and Harry Wills have come down. But about half the field has stayed out here this time. Emily Howe still staying out after pitting on lap 25. And then those drivers who pitted on lap 34, Dean Timms, John Casey, Justin Delano, and Thomas Fisher have stayed out this time.
Now, what's happened to Harry Wills? Because he's in the pits for at least 1 minute 20. Now, the normal pit stop time is between 40 and 50 seconds. He's coming out now, so I wonder if that was him deciding to try and repair some of the heavy damage on that car.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because remember, David, that Harry took his fast repair after his first wreck, and then he wrecked a second time. So I can still see some damage on the right front of that race car. So he's just trying to weed off as much of his damage or repair that he can, and kind of salvage whatever finish that he can with whatever condition of a car he's going to have. So that's definitely what he was in the pits for. Was just a long pit stop. Lilac Zier also comes down pit lane. Might as well. She's the only car one lap down. She still has a clean race car though, so she can keep going. She will need one more caution and one that she's not involved in to get her lap back here, but she's definitely not out of the running.
Well, we'll have to wait and see exactly how this is all going to pan out, but we're nearly at the halfway stage now, and this is our fourth caution, so at this rate we're getting a caution every 10 laps here, but it is going to be Emily Howe taking the pace car here, get as close as they possibly dare to that pace car, in fact actually merging with the pace car there. It's that's a bold strategy there.
Yeah, that's very immersive drafting, I guess. One thing's for sure on this restart, I want to have a camera on Cass Silliman. She'll be in sixth place, and she just pitted. She's got new Goodyear tires on that race car, and she's been fast all night long. And she started on the outside as well, so I expect her to kind of pick whatever lane everybody else is not in and be aggressive on this restart. And at the same time, Emily Howe's going to try to build up as much of a gap as she possibly can. She knows that Silliman has been her main competition all evening long, and if she can build up that gap before Silliman can get through the traffic, that may lead to a successful run for her tonight.
Well, there we go. Pace car lights are off as we come through the second third of the track here. We get ready to go. Green flag racing here at Homestead, Miami. It's the WSL NASCAR series here, the US contingent, live on Absolute Sim Racing. It's Kenny Kibbe and David Christie here with you for the fourth restart of the evening.
Here we go as Emily Howe takes control of the field here, and there she goes. A really good jump. That is the most convincing restart we've seen so far from a leader, as Howe will be completely clear into turn one side by side for second place. Oh, and Howe with an interesting line there going from top to bottom through turn one and two. You see there Cass Silliman just trying to pick a lane to make up some spots here. She's side by side with Fisher trying the side draft here. Not a whole lot of room given as we go down into turn three. Dean Timms up the racetrack a little bit sideways there, still side by side with Casey, who's trying to clear for second.
Yeah, it's a great restart there for Emily Howe. Cass Silliman trying her best to pull her way through that crowd, that gaggle of cars there. Look at Dean Timms though, gets a great run there. That was a poor exit from John Casey there, dropping all the way back like a stone from second to fifth. in the blink of an eye. Possibly going to go down to 6 as well, as Justin Delano fancies getting a bit of the action in here. But Emily Howe already a second and a half up the road here, and Cass Silliman's going to have to get a move on here, Kenny, to try and catch up.
Yeah, for sure. She's done a pretty good job getting through the traffic. She's got one more cut of pass to get up into second place. That's Dean Timms. She's working on him now, but yeah, Howe's taking full advantage of the clean air here, and really good pass possibly by Silliman. Not quite clear, but I love that blimp shot that you showed earlier, David. That was really showing kind of the runs that were being made and how drivers were gaining and losing momentum throughout the corners, and showing how the cars could get loose through the turns, as well as Silliman does clear into second place, but she's got quite a gap to make up, over a second and a half up to Emily Howe, as we're now single file through the first 3 positions in the first side-by-side battle is Thomas Fisher and Justin Delano, and Delano really making a charge through the field here. Remember, he pitted on lap 34, not 43 like Silliman did, so he's on an even strategy with Fisher and quite a few other drivers, but he's doing a really good job still rolling the bottom.
Yeah, a few puffs of smoke there as the tyres getting up to speed here at Homestead Raceway here. It's still Emily Howe up in front of this race right now, doing a grand job, although a little bit lonely, you've got to say, up there in front though. That gap's starting to come down though. Cass Silliman, if anything, able to match the pace put on right now by Emily Howe, further behind Dean Timms ahead of Thomas Fisher, Justin Delano ahead of John Casey. What a race we've had though for this 7th round of the WSL NASCAR series here, and yeah, absolutely loving this here, Kenny.
Yeah, and the track temps dropping yet again. You know, it's down to 83 degrees now, so I expect potential track times or lap times to continue dropping. But yeah, the pace that Emily Howe and Cass Silliman have put on the rest of the field has just been pretty crazy. I mean, they're beating the field by 2/10, 3/10 a lap. I mean, that's a huge amount in any kind of NASCAR race. But this thing's definitely not over, and Silliman's doing her best to run down that leader, and she's actually catching by a 10th and a half that last lap. So we'll have to keep an eye on that battle, as it's pretty much single file out through the rest of the top 5. Harry Wills is still with a damaged race car up into 6th place. We actually just had a retiree. Drew Neubauer has dropped out of the race, so he will probably finish 13th, and the rest of the field here pretty spread out, as we got a replay as to potentially what happened to Neubauer.
And that's just exactly what we've seen time and time again. Just too early on the throttle out of a corner there. The car power slides into the nearest wall, and that is all they wrote for tonight's race for Drew Neubauer.
And I look back at some live pictures now. You actually see Lilac Zier there next to Dean Timms. That is not for position. Remember, Lilac's still 1 lap down. And could she potentially do this Bill Elliott style and take her lap back the old-fashioned way, get it under green flag conditions? She might be forced to do that if we continue to have a green flag run here, but obviously showing that 89 car still has some good pace as she pulls away from the rest of the field behind. And again, it looks like Dean Timms, Thomas Fisher, and Justin Delano still packed together here in a battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Interesting to see Emily Howe repeatedly taking that high line, despite it being 2/3 of a second slower per lap than Cass Silliman. I wonder, maybe waiting for Cass Silliman so they can go draft and pull each other along the track.
Well, I do know that you know, depending on your setup or your driving style or just what you're comfortable with, sometimes it's really hard to force yourself to go into one lane or another. Sometimes you're just really suited to one particular lane. But as that leader, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, if you see a driver who's continuously making up time on you, running a particular line, you have to take that line away, and that's what she's doing right there. Into turn 1 and 2, she finally decides to run the bottom line. She says Cass is gaining time on me every lap. I need to try something different. And that's exactly what she's doing. And again, that's what I love about Homestead Miami Speedway is you see that you can make up time by running multiple different lines here, and you have to be creative with how you place your car through the corners here. And that just makes it for interesting racing as you watch these drivers try to figure it out lap by lap.
Just watching a little bit further down here is Harry Wills trying to get onto the back of Justin Delano. You've also got Thomas Fisher up in that little group as well. Harry Wills seems to have tamed that car a little bit for just now, but again, give it another 5 or so laps, then you're going to see the real fun starting to begin there. He's kind of boxed in because he's got Thomas Fisher up in front, so he's getting a little bit of the draft there, and that's going to allow Justin Delano up the inside there. You can see Dean Tim's couple of cars up there, and fascinating battle as we go into lap number 60 very shortly. And yeah, look, this has just been a mega effort for all of these cars. I think that Lilac's there, as you said, if we get another caution, almost.
No,
How was that? How was that not a caution, Kenny?
Well, I mean, with the help of the outside wall and Harry Wills's car, Thomas Fisher able to keep his car going forwards, but the problem is both of these cars with some pretty hefty damage yet again, and Delano will probably find himself getting around both of these guys sooner or later. And I'm sure Delano was replaying that early wreck over in his head like, oh no, not again. A wreck in front of me is going to take me out innocently, but didn't happen this time, and Wills actually grabs that spot. Before that happened, David, I was wondering if maybe Harry Wills's damage has actually helped tighten that car up a bit. As odd as it sounds, it can happen because his car does look a bit more stable, or maybe he's just kind of decided to be a little more conservative in his driving style for the rest of this race. But Wills up to 4th now as we all of a sudden have a battle for the lead. Silliman has ran down Emily Howe, and they are now battling side by side into turn 3.
Yeah, that's impressive pace from Cass Silliman. We saw that she was 2 seconds back off of the leader Emily Howe right now, brought that gap back together, and the two of them going side by side as we've got just 38 laps left to go in this race here. I think Emily Howe obviously sticking to that upside line here. The thing is as well, given the pace that Lilac Zier has got here, if we get another caution here and she gets brought onto this lead lap, I would be very afraid of the rest of the, if I was the rest of the field, because she is just going to come tearing through the field.
Yeah, and you remember that Harry Wills, took the point lead after Pocono, and as it stands right now, would extend that point lead over Zier, and Zier's stuck where she's at right now unless she gets that lap back. So she's not going to have a good points day today if that stands. So she really needs a caution to come out for her to be able to gain some points. So at this point, Harry Wills has had his own problems, but if he can just kind of salvage a decent finish, if we run this green flag to the end, he'll at least extend his point lead over second place. He won't extend it over everybody, but he'll extend it over Lilac anyway. And again, he's up in the fence in turn 3 and 4 and loses a spot to Justin Delano. But Harry just needs to focus on just getting this thing to the finish.
Certainly does. I've got a horrible feeling about this too, because if I'm not mistaken, these two teammates for Prismatic Motorsport and Cass Silliman on that inside line there, just watching the increasing unstableness of these cars, the tail end twitching, you'll see it quite often if you watch Emily Howe up on that top side there when she tries to bring the car round and get back on the throttle there, and you'll see it as well from Cass Silliman on the inside as well. I get the horrible feeling that these two are going to have a little bit of contact with each other.
Well, and keep in mind as well, Emily Howe last pitted on lap 25. We're approaching 40 laps since she was last on pit lane. Now, we did have some caution flag laps in there, but I would expect that she would have to come in for a pit stop at any moment. I'm actually kind of surprised she's still out there on a 65% fuel load. Cass Silliman was in the group of the last drivers to come down pit road in on lap 43. So looks like she can probably go quite some time longer. I'd say at least 10 laps under green. And I would think that that would put everybody in their fuel window to make it to the end on this last pit stop here under green anyway. So we'll have to keep an eye out for any kind of pit strategy. But a great lead defense there by Emily Howe ran that top line, and Silliman unable to pass. I'm actually a little bit surprised by that because Silliman showed so much speed on the bottom earlier. It's just when you have a car on your outside kind of choking off your exit, it's just really hard to keep up the momentum.
Uh, can we just take a second, Kenny, to have a look at that gap? How? How in the hell are the entire field 10 seconds off of these two? What is that all about?
I mean, the prismatic cars just have an insane setup underneath them. I mean, those cars have just been seemingly on rails. And, you know, don't put it past Emily Howe and Silliman. They still have to wheel it. So you have, you know, two things in their favor, a really good setup and two really good race car drivers as well. And you put those together, and, you know, again, Homestead Miami Speedway is a track where drivers will love it or hate it. And if these two drivers, it looks like they're loving it right now, and, you know, some of the others in the field have been struggling. So you put all those factors together, and there's your 10, 12-second advantage. But like you said, David, these drivers need to keep it clean amongst each other and not make any mistakes, because anything can happen.
Certainly can. I'm pretty sure just up in front, I'm pretty sure that's TJ Handley that is just in front of them just now, who is in 11th place. So that means that the number 3 car would get put a lap down as well, and that also means that John Casey, who was doing a great job up there in 5th position, he's going to end up going further down the order in just a couple of laps as well. These two lapping 33.07 and 33.10. That's about 0.3 to 0.5 of a second faster than every single other car in the field here.
Yeah, and as soon as Hanley goes a lap down, that will put Lilac Zier out of the free pass position if we do get a caution. Zier is quite a few seconds. She's the third car kind of on track, but so she's not terribly far behind the leaders, but she will have to take some laps to catch up to Hanley and get that 11th spot and free pass spot back, as we do have another car off track there. Ooh, is that Harry Wills? That is terminal damage. Terminal damage to the 95 car. He is done for the night, and that is huge for Lilac Zier and the points position. Oh, geez, that is a huge hit.
And that obviously started a little bit earlier on as well. We'll see if we can actually get that for Harry Wills there. He's obviously just coming out of the corner, and again, too early on the throttle. Kicks it into the rear wall there, tries to save it, and it's good night Vienna for that car.
Goodness gracious, that was a huge hit. But while that was happening, Cass Silliman has taken the lead away from Emily Howe, and you actually see Emily Howe coming down the pit lane now. Again, she had to make that pit stop. She's able to get into the fuel window to get to the end on this one last tank of fuel, though, so that's a good thing. And Cass, oh wow, that was close. We'll have to see if Cass Silliman gets a pit road penalty for speeding, because she was coming in hot. That actually takes me back to, I believe it was a 2004 Nextel Cup championship race at Homestead Miami, when Kurt Busch nearly smacked into the barrels on pit entry. Long story short, ends up going around and winning the championship. But there was shades of that championship race right there. A huge moment for Cass Silliman. We'll have to find out if she has to have a pit road penalty here as she gets her fuel service done.
I swear to God, I thought that car was going into the central barrier there. There was no way she was avoiding that, but thankfully it didn't happen. And thankfully we're still under green flag conditions here. Lap 73 out of 100, so a few laps left to go in this race, so we're really able to start pushing on through this. But my goodness me, that was absolutely frightening for Cass Silliman there.
Yeah, and these drivers have pitted pretty much as early as they could And a good play here by Silliman to pit right after Howe because Howe has got a tire advantage. As we're looking at the replay here with Silliman coming down pit lane, really having a pushy condition. Oh, she actually thought about just giving up the pit entry completely, and then she just went for it and made it happen. So we'll have to find out if she has any penalty. Looks like so far she's stayed out on track, so it looks like she might be clean and green to go. And these drivers, again, side by side battling. Emily Howe tried to take advantage of the one-lap undercut on tires. They're side by side trying to catch up to John Casey here, the lap car. And it looks like Howe's going to use him as a little bit of a pick. Some really good racing going on for the lead. Well, actually, it's not for the lead. It's for the provisional lead for later, as we will have to keep an eye on the leader, drivers who have not pitted yet, which are actually the top 6. We have Delano, Timms. Delano's coming in now. Ooh, a little bit hot.
Oh,
We'll
come on! Surely that's got to be. Surely that's got to be way too hot for coming in there.
We'll have to find out. But also, Dean Timms, Steven Martinez, Jeff Carollo have not made their pit stop as well.
Oh my goodness me. Do you know what's actually frightening genuinely is like this, watching these two. I mean, the pace that Emily Howe and Cass Silliman, and this is a group effort right now, 100%, there's no other way about it. They are 2 seconds a lap faster than the entire field. That is scary, frightening, and absolutely ridiculous right now.
Well, and that's just the product of, well, obviously these cars have a lot of pace, but it's a product of these cars getting new tires on before anybody else. Everybody else, well, every driver was having 8 to 9 tenths of a second of fall off, which is a decent bit more than what we've seen at some other mile-and-a-half tracks in these next-gen race cars. And again, a very abrasive surface here at Homestead, Miami. So they decided to pit as soon as they could, which is a smart play. And, you know, but the rest of the field has to just try something different. As you see Dean Timms give up the lead and come down pit lane there. Ooh, he's got decent right side damage. I think he got into the wall a bit earlier. Oh, and we actually have a spin right in front of Emily Howe. That was Thomas Fisher who's locked it down. And I think he's going to keep it going. No caution at the moment. We have some pit drivers on pit lane. Looks like we will stay green.
Blimmin' heck, we fairly lucked out on that one actually with Thomas crashing out there, but yet again, I mean this is what I'm watching here. I can't believe what I'm seeing. The way that they're just overtaking every single, they're overtaking all the cars on the track like, you know, this is an exhibition race, or like, you know, it just doesn't make sense, the pace difference that these two have got.
And some of these drivers, I think Justin Delano must have had some kind of pit penalty like what you saw, David, when he came in a little bit hot there, because he is now right in front of the leaders and he's a lap behind them. So again, this is still not for the lead between these two drivers, Emily Howe and Cass Silliman, but Steven Martinez is in the lead, Jeff Carollo second. This is for provisional lead once those drivers make pit stops, and a beautiful pass by Cass Silliman there. Takes that lead, and here comes Emily Howe right back at her. And this is, oh, I thought she was going to pull a slide job there. Decides to stay low and trust that low line, and she's clear. Another really nice pass, and they're just going to go back and forth here.
Epic teamwork. This is exactly what this is right now, as we see TJ Handley back into the pits. Harry Wills still in the pits right now. That car is pretty much goose. That day is done for that one, and these two are just going to be making their way through. That's the thing here, getting very, very close indeed there. I'm not sure if that was a deceptive camera angle or what, but either way, the thing with it is the fact that Silliman and Howe are catching on these cars in front at such an absurd pace here. You've got lapped cars in as well. This is starting to get a little bit sketchy. This is where mistakes can actually creep back in, and Lilac Zaire having a bit of a moment.
Oh, and we look at, oh, Silliman was loose as well, and we have a car sideways on the front stretch as well. Is there going to be a caution? Yes, there will be a caution. Dean Timms lost it on the front stretch in front of these leaders, and yeah, he just lost it all by himself. I don't know what happened to Lilac Zaire, though.
Oh, no.
She made a pit stop and lost it on pit exit. That's easy to do.
Ah, that's such a shame. To be fair, though, I mean, obviously the software that I use, it just marks it that there's been an incident. So, in the grand scheme of things, that's actually not really all that much to worry about there. But Dean Timms, I mean, yeah, we have to kind of find out what on earth has happened here, because that was a brutal hit. You can see again off the corner, tries to hold it, rolls onto the wall there. A little bump there, so the car, other than that, looks fairly okay.
Yeah, he should be able to continue, but he is going to be stuck one lap down. Now, if the rest of the leaders pit here, which I would think they would, um, he could take a wave round. Now, there's a bunch of drivers that could take a wave round and get on the lead lap. We have Timms, Fisher, Zier, Casey, and Hanley all stuck one lap down. So if all the leaders come out or come into the pits, they can take the wave round if they don't pit. So here come the leaders as Cass Silliman brings them down. Remember, Steven Martinez and Jeff Carollo, they still not made their pit stop yet. So they will maintain that track position and now be on equal footing with the rest of the leaders. As yes, you see all these drivers that are one lap down, they will stay out and get their laps back here. And but yeah, a good play there by Steven Martinez and Carollo as they'll get some good track position here.
Now again, here's a bit of a newbie question, because obviously we've got the wave around rule. So does that mean then, say that we're looking at Dean Timms here? If Dean Timms had pitted, taken a fast repair and come back out, and he still was a lap down, would he be able to get that lap then back as well as having had a pit stop?
No,
Or
so
is
these
it one or the other?
so for one, Dean Timms he would have been the free pass car, I believe. But since he was the cause of caution, that means there is no free pass car. But since he is one lap down and all these other drivers are one lap down, if all the lead lap cars make a pit stop and go down pit lane, and now the pace car has picked up all of these other drivers that are one lap down, if they stay out and don't pit, they can take a wave round and get their one lap back once we get the one to green. If they pit, then the leaders will come back around and pass them while they're in pit lane and will essentially put them one lap down again. So
Right.
in order to get the wave around and get their lap back, they cannot make a pit stop, and that's why you're seeing all these drivers that are one lap down plus stay out here.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. That is it. That is exactly what I was looking for here. But look, we're going to have 15 to go, so we're really at the tail end of this race here. I would imagine we're going to have lights out next time by 15 to go. Who do you think is in a really strong position? Because for me, for my money, I cannot look past anyone other than Cass Silman and Emily Howe right now.
Well, and keep in mind that the leader is actually going to be Justin Delano. He did not pit under that last caution, so he's got about 8 lap older tires, which is not terrible compared to the rest of the field. But yeah, I mean, Cass Silliman will be 2 spots ahead of Emily Howe. They should be starting in the same line. So it's going to come down to, how quickly can those two drivers get up to the lead, which I expect to be pretty quickly. And then the fight's going to be on like it has been. And those two have been so even. I think overall, I think Silliman's been the stronger car, but it's been so marginal. And it's going to come down to, I think, can either of those cars avoid making any mistakes? And if I'm one driver or the other, as we get down to the end here, I'm going to try to make my opponent make a mistake. Try to put the pressure on as much as I possibly can, because I know that other driver is, just as fast as I am.
Yeah, interesting all the same. So we're getting ready then to go green here for the fifth time of asking here at Homestead, Miami. What a race we've had so far. It's been an absolute cracker and huge, monumental championship implications. Your championship leader out of the race. It looks like Harry Wills down there in 12th position. That blows the championship wide open. You've got Lilac Zier, who was again right at the top of the order as well. She's down in 8th position right now. It's way too close to call here, Kenny.
Yeah, for sure. And Lilac will, at least at this point, would overtake Harry in the points, but there might be another player up there towards the top of the points after this one as the green flag is back out. A really good jump from Justin Delano, and that's what he is going to need on those slightly older tires as Silliman will slide into second place. And here comes Emily Howe going right after second place immediately as she's inside of Silliman here. Silliman will have the momentum down the backstretch. I am really impressed with the start from Delano, though. He's got a pretty good advantage down into turn 3. I don't expect it to last, but he's going to stay out there as long as he possibly can.
Yeah, he's doing a really grand job here. He's really pushing hard there, and that looked like that was very, very wide there for Emily Howe, getting almost slightly into the barrier here. And what we've seen from Cass Silliman is working very well with Howe alongside, but maybe if losing that wingman there, I don't know if maybe going to have the pace. 13 to go here. If you're Justin Delano, you're off like a scalded cat right now.
So we wow, we totally missed it last lap in turn 3 and 4. There was some commotion with Steven Martinez getting sideways. A few cars had some contact, and that made Lilac Zier go all the way. There it is on the replay there. Or actually, is that live?
That's
is that
live. That
oh,
is,
wow,
yeah,
that
that
happened
was
again.
Steven Martinez up into the inside there.
So that's the second time he's done that. But anyway, that made Lilac Zier go from 8th to 4th out of nowhere. So a pretty poor run turned into a great run here for Lilac all of a sudden. Even though she had to take that wave run and has slightly older tires, she's doing a great job as we have a side-by-side battle for the lead now, and a caution has come out. And I believe Delano was still in the lead when that came up. We'll have to take a look at what happened for this caution. It might have been TJ Hanley again. Yes, it was. Oh, and it was Casey as well.
Wow. Oh, I feel so bad for TJ Handley. There was nothing he could have done there, and yeah, you've kind of got to look at what happened there. I mean, look, we can make comment on this because we're up in the commentary box, but that you can't have that happening. You can't have a car that's out of control spinning back onto the track. It looks like there was no attempt whatsoever. And again, this is just speculation from the comms box, but looks like no attempt made to put the brakes on there. And that is a heavy, heavy hit. And that is going to be John Casey's night done as well.
Yeah, and I think, I was riding on board with TJ Hanley. It looks like he didn't really make any effort to slow his car down to avoid it either. But, it's kind of a bad habit that's formed by tracks like this on iRacing because of the fact that so many wrecks here are not a caution. And what that does is it causes everybody to be desperate to keep the throttle on, even when drivers wreck. And it makes it for a really unsafe condition out there because see drivers get sideways or what have you, and drivers think, oh man, this might not be a caution, I need to keep my foot in it, and things like that happen because of it. And it's kind of an unfortunate situation. In a way it helps sometimes because we don't like to see cautions all the time for every little tiny spin, but at the same time, at the tracks where wrecks seem to happen and not cause cautions hardly at all, drivers need to be aware of that kind of thing, and just, even though you're going to lose a bunch of momentum, it's worth losing momentum and keeping a clean race car as opposed to destroying two cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Kenny, Justin Delano, I'm not going to lie, I am very excited for his chances right now because we're going to come back. We'll have, I think, at least one more to go, which will bring us down to about 8 to go when we hit the when we hit the green flag there. I think he's in a very good position. If he can last 2 to 3 laps holding off Cass Silliman and Emily Howe, he knows what Silliman's going to try and do now. He knows Silliman's going to try and fire it down the inside line there. I think he's got a bit of an advantage here.
Yeah, this has been the first time that Delano has had some true clean air in front of him, and he's looked great. I mean, we praised him early on about how well he was making the bottom line work in traffic, but now that he's actually out front and been able to run the line he wants to run, he has shown some really good speed. Now, this time on this restart, he's not going to have any kind of buffer in between him and Silliman and Howe. However, he might be able to use the fact that those two are going to want to battle each other so hard amongst each other. He might be able to use that to his advantage and run away like he did on the last restart. And nobody here, other than Dean Timms, he is the only lead lap car to come in for a pit stop here. Everybody else has stayed out. So, and also one thing to note, even if you have worn tires, you will have a decent amount of grip for at least a corner or two, even if your tires are worn. So, Delano, if he can get a really good jump like he got last time, we're getting closer and closer to having the pay window open. He might have a shot at this thing.
Now, another driver that we haven't mentioned quite just yet is Lilac Zier up into P4. Now, it kind of snuck under the radar, as you said, that incident just before the yellow flag was brought out, rocketing Lilac Zier up into almost podium position there, but definitely now a contender for the overall race win, given how strong the pace was earlier on.
Yeah, and she has the second oldest tires. Delano has the oldest after pitting on lap 75. She pitted on lap 79. Everybody else pitted on lap 83 or older. And that's not a huge difference. So, I mean, these drivers are going to have relatively even rubber underneath them, but Delano definitely at a slight disadvantage, but he at least has the clean air and he has control of the field. And here we go. We're going to have 7 laps to go when we restart here. Pace car dives down into pit lane. Here comes Delano. Silliman's trying to anticipate the start. Oh, wow, that was I don't know if Silliman went early or if Delano didn't go or what have you, but that was not a clean start. And Delano's going to get freight trained here. Silliman pops into the lead, and all of a sudden Lilac Zier finds herself in second.
Well, what we're going to have to watch is pit lane to see whether or not Cass Silliman has to end up coming back here, because I think Cass Silliman did take that position before the green flag flew. That's certainly what my spotter thing here is telling me. But either way, we've now got a prismatic 1, 2, 3. Cass Silliman, Lilac Zier, and Emily Howe all duking it out for the lead. But Justin Delano not done yet. 6 laps left to go, and it looks like we are going to have an absolute barnstormer of a finish, almost 3 wide.
Yeah, and when it comes down to that restart, it might come down to an admin ruling rather than an iRacing ruling. iRacing's not going to call a jumped restart unless it's completely egregious and obvious. That one was not completely obvious, but these 3 drivers are going to go at it to the finish regardless. You see Emily Howe trying to squeeze through the middle, and that hole closes up. And Lilac Zier doing a great job on the bottom. Look at her roll the bottom there. She's going to clear Silliman into the lead. First time we've seen that really all race long. And Howe has to contend with Silliman here. 5 laps to go, 4.5 now into turn 3. And we have a caution on the racetrack. Jeff Carollo. Boy, that was some really good hard racing there up at the front, David.
You hate to see it, do you? My goodness me. Right, that evens everything up now. Goodness me. Let's see what happened with Jeff Carollo then. Again, off the corner into... Now, wait a minute, because It doesn't look. Oh, so he's already had the damage on the side of that car there. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not too bad an incident for Carolo, but that does bring out the yellow flag, and that means now we're going to have our first attempt at a green-white checkered.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that that brought out a caution because there wasn't really anybody else around Carollo, but he did stop on the racing surface. But I'm interested to see what any of these drivers do. Here's a little update for you. Dean Timms, like I said, he pitted last caution. He made his way up from ninth up to sixth on that restart, so he has made a little bit of progress with those newer tires. He'll get another chance at it, and I'm not I'm not sure if we'll get a green white checker or if we'll have just a legitimate one lap finish. I think we will get a green white checker. We'll have to keep an eye on the lights on the pace car, but Lilac Zero with an absolutely awesome charge up to the front here. I maybe taken Silliman and Howe by surprise, but you and I talked about it, David. If Zier could get that track position back after being caught a lap down for so long, she was going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely, and here is where we are right now then. So Lilacs there in the lead of this race with just 3 laps left to go. The thing with it as well, Kenny, is that I don't know about you, but I'm watching the way that those 3 drivers are fighting, and I'm getting a little bit nervous because I'm wondering there is a risk of them taking all of themselves out.
There definitely is, and there has been a few close calls, and now I almost wonder if that aggression and kind of anxiety is going to be increased tenfold because of the fact that now, with Zier up there in the mix, they might think that the win could possibly be slipping away. And when you think that in your head as a race car driver, that makes you try some bold moves because you think you get kind of desperate in a way to salvage that victory. And like you said, David, that's going to be a green-white checkered here. And this is going to be wild. I mean, we're going to see the drivers fan out here for 2 laps. We have a possible 3 maximum attempts at a green-white checker. We might have to use all 3. Who knows? But it's going to come down to this restart, and we'll have to see how this all plays out. Remember, last restart wasn't necessarily clean. It was a little bit sloppy, but it all kind of worked out. And this will be the first time that Zier will be up at the front to control the field. So this is going to be interesting. Yeah, here we go. We do have one last lap here, and then we will go green. It'll be a 2-lap shootout. We are going to overtime. This is lap 100 right here. And I'm interested also to see what Justin Delano can do. He will be on the top side, but if the top side gets a good restart, he may be able to make some progress. And again, I think that the jump on this restart from either lane is going to be so important going down into turn 1. And also wouldn't even rule out, well, I guess Thomas Fisher does have a lot of damage on his car, so a really good run for him considering being in the top 5 there. And Dean Timms, though, as the fresh tires, he'll be in 6th place. He might be able to grab a few spots. But yeah, the 3 ladies up here in the top 3, they have put on a show tonight, and we're about ready to come up to the grand finale.
Excitement starting to build. We hope you're enjoying the show over on YouTube. A very good evening to everyone watching out there just now. But we get ready to go green then for the 7th time tonight as Lilacs here leading round the field. And that car peels off into pit lane there, Kenny.
Here we go. Lilac Zero has control of the field. She gets a decent jump, better than Silliman. Not the best start we've seen all night, but good enough to clear into turn one on her own. Silliman dives down into turn one and two, and Emily Howe right on her tail in one and two as well. These three drivers separating from the field. Oh, we have a spin in the back. That might cause a caution, and it does. It's Justin Delano spinning all by himself. He did have a driver right at his side. That was Thomas Fisher. But yeah, that ends up being a multi-car accident there on the restart. And looking at the replay there, and a bunch of cars involved. Kulaga got involved. Martinez was involved. Not a huge field, but just about half of it was involved in that wreck there. A lot of cars with damage at this point. Take a look at this restart here with from Kulaga's point of view, or look focusing on his car anyway. And you see there side by side was Fisher and Delano. They're side by side. They get pretty close, and then just right at the exit, Delano loses it and kind of nowhere to go. Just kind of deer in headlights kind of moment there with Eric Kulaga. It slams into the side of, I believe that was Fisher. And so damage for all these race cars. And I am seeing Emily Howe coming down pit road. Interesting move.
Yeah, that's a bold one for sure. I'm not sure about that, given that Lilac Zare and Cass Silliman staying out on the track as well. But I mean, look, at this stage where we're on our second green, white, and checkered, maybe you have to roll the dice. Maybe you have to see what else you can do. But Dean Tim's up in a P3.
Yeah, good run for Dean. I think he did get a piece of that wreck. I don't think it's too terrible, but might have some slight damage on that 46 car. But again, he does have decently new tires. But I'm looking at Emily Howe's strategy here. I actually think it's a good call because she got that restart, and I think in her mind she's thinking, man, I'm third place here. I'm not gonna, we're so even. I'm not gonna win from this spot. So I'm going to give myself a good chance by putting on fresh tires, giving myself some kind of advantage to work with. And she's only dropped to sixth place. And I think she can easily at least get up to third in this two-lap shootout, pending, any crashes or anything like that. But, I think she's just trying to do something different than the leaders in order to help her chances. So, to be honest, I think I like that call.
Right, I promise it's fine. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. We will get home at some point tonight. We will get finished. We've only got another green, white, checkered after this one that we can do, and then the race will be called anyway. I believe it's 3 GWCs or attempts at GWCs that we end up going through as well. But Lilac Zare then in the pound seats right now gets to really control the restart here. And Kenny, looking at that restart last time round there, did everything right there on that.
Yeah, she did. I mean, she, cleared into turn one. She took away Cass Silliman's line going into turn one, and was looking pretty good. It was going to be a tight fight, though, down into turn three. Silliman had a decent run going, and probably had a little bit of a draft going on as well. But we won't ever find out what was going to happen down there, but they'll get another crack at it. And yeah, I think, with how short of a run this is going to be with only being 2 laps, if Zare really gets a strong restart, that really limits Silliman's options as far as trying to make a move. And however, we've seen how aggressive Silliman's been on the restarts, and sometimes she's been able to time it absolutely perfectly and make it a side-by-side battle into turn one. That can put the advantage in her favor.
Well, that's exactly what we will be keeping our eyes open for this penultimate green-white checkered attempt here at Miami Homestead. Zier will lead off from Cass Silliman. We saw Emily Howe going into pit lane. That drops her down to 6th position. So far in the race, then we have lost more than half of the field. Justin Delano, Stephen Martinez, TJ Handley, John Casey, Harry Wills, Drew Newboyer, all out of the race here. But coming down the back stretch here, I mean, who do we think, who are we tipping for this win here?
It's going to be really situational. You know, if Zier gets a really good restart, I probably put my money on Zier. If Silliman gets a good restart, definitely putting money on Silliman. But I'm still going to keep my eye on Emily Howe, even though she's starting 6th with the fresh tires and a whole lot of fire. As here we go for the green-white checkered finish here for restart. Zier with another pretty good restart, pretty equal to last time. A decent amount of momentum into turn 1 here. She's going with a shallow line though. Silliman will have a good run through the middle of 1 and 2. Dean Timms settles into 3rd. Emily Howe already working on 4th. She will clear into 4th. And she will take 3rd down the backstretch here. She'll have about 1 lap. See if she can run down the teammates up front. But so far, it's Lilac Zier that'll come and take the white flag as the leader.
I'm sorry, what? How the hell has Emily Howe been able to do that? That is unbelievable. So this is it then. It is going to finish on whatever happens here. Lilac Zier in the lead ahead from Cass Silliman. And you've got to say, Lilac Zier looking very comfortable out there.
For sure, and she's doing just such a good job of taking the line of Silliman away, kind of just driving in the middle of the track, not really giving a whole lot of options to Silliman. And Howe's gaining on these two, but she's just going to run out of time. She's running up top. They go down into the 3 and 4 for the final time. And Lilac Zier will come out of 4. Silliman's got a little bit of a run, but it's not going to be enough, as Lilac Zier will come by and take the victory in the WSL US race here in Homestead, Miami, Florida. Emily Howe will end up 3rd behind Cass Silliman. A big wreck after the finish there. We might have to take a look at that replay, but really nice battle there between the prismatic drivers.
Certainly was. This is what happened then with Jeff Carollo and Eric Kulaga. Now I'm wondering if they just spun it after the race there. Let's see, it goes across the line. Yeah. That's just unfortunate. Never mind. But look, Prismatic taking the 1, 2, 3 there. That is mega stuff there, and Lilac Zier going to be very, very happy with that. I'm pretty sure that Lilac's not going to be paying for the repair bills on that one.
Yeah, that's a very flamboyant celebration. I bet she's really pumped about that though, because at some point she might have thought that she was kind of down and out with being caught a lap down, and we'll have to ask her about what kind of problems she had to put herself in that position. But after that, I mean, once she got back on the lead lap, she just came through the field kind of like what we expected. But to go up there and pass Silliman and Howe like she did, that was impressive. But we take a look at the final results here. Lilac Zier on top with the victory over Cass Silliman in 2nd, Emily Howe in 3rd, Dean Timms, pretty solid run in 4th place with Thomas Fisher damaged but not out, 5th place for him. Jeff Carollo with a 6th place, Eric Kulaga in 7th. He's the last driver actually to finish this race. Justin Delano ends up 8th, Stephen Martinez 9th, TJ Handley in 10th. 11th goes to John Casey. Harry Wills came in as the points leader, will not leave the points leader. He ends up 12th. 13th is Drew Neubauer, and 14th Henry Wyndham did not start this evening. But David, what are your thoughts about that? That was an up and down race for some drivers, and just kind of an interesting finish there, and just a huge battle between 2 to up to 3 drivers throughout the entire event.
Well, it was a little bit chaotic. It was scrappy. It was all over the place, and I absolutely loved every minute of it, Kenny. It was a brilliant race, and look, I'm delighted Lilac Zier, after all the bad luck that we've seen Lilac having over the past couple of weeks there. Great to see finally getting up onto that top step of the podium again.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, she is now into the waiting room. And Lilac, that was a fantastic drive by you. First, um,
Thanks.
what are your emotions like after that race? Because you had some adversity. I mean,
Oh,
you went a lap down there. Talk about what happened there. First off.
oh well. First of all, the the track has like a pit lane thing like Indy, but you don't have to use it. But under caution, some people were using it, so I think I got confused as to which car I needed to be ahead of in line, and I got a passing on yellow penalty when I pitted. And then I thought I could serve it on the green, which was apparently used to work, but for whatever reason this time it didn't work. So then I had to come back again and do a stop and go, and I was a lap down, and I'm just like, oh, I'm never gonna get that back. But I kept going, and I was able to drive my way up ahead of some of the other cars that were laps down, and then I pitted right as I gave up and pitted. The caution came out, so I got the wave around and had fresh tires. And then Emily and Cass were faster than me all day, but for whatever reason on that start, one car stayed out, and then the restart was kind of a mess, like a little jumbled, and I was able to stick my nose in there and just get underneath the Cass. And Emily backed out of making it 3 wide, which is good, or else I probably would have crashed her. And just managed to hang on there after that, and it was wild.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, you had some wreck avoidances in there, and once you got back on the lead lap, I guess it was just perfect that you had just pitted, so you really weren't at a tire disadvantage like a lot of wave around cars are at times. But when you got up there with Cass and Emily, you say that you were not quite as fast as them, but what was your confidence level like once you had control of the field, you had clean air, you could control the restarts? Did you was that kind of the point where you're thinking like, I might actually win this thing?
Not quite. On the first restart, the first green white checkered, I almost wrecked coming out too because I was pushing it too hard, and then they wrecked behind us, so I got away with that one there. I mean, I saved it, but I think Cass would have had a run on me. So I did a little better job on the last green flag, the last green white checkered, and after I cleared her and got away, I thought maybe I can hold on. And once I got to the white flag, I'm like, I think I can do this, and
And
it feels really good.
yeah, for sure. And coming into this at the beginning there with your problems that you had with the penalties, it was almost looking like you were going to have a poor points night, and Harry Wills, who came in as the points leader, was going to have a great night. Well, the roles ended up flipped. He had a horrible day, and you ended up on the top of the podium. So you with the points lead going into the final round at Talladega. What are your thoughts?
I feel bad for Harry. I know he cares a lot about this league and he wants it to do well, and he tries real hard. I know he was struggling with a loose race car, and that's just how it goes sometimes. You never want to see that. I never would have thought I would have a chance at a championship when I signed up for this. So, I mean, even after I won Daytona, I was just like, if I could just hang on to third and get that button box prize for third place, I'd be happy with that. But I'm gonna go into Talladega and get my best, and wherever it falls, it falls.
For sure. Well, you've had a great season so far, and who would you like to thank for the run tonight?
Gotta thank all my teammates, all my friends. Emily made the setup. It was a great setup. Cass, another good teammate. Some of the ones that aren't here. Uh, you know, I know some people couldn't make it, but I want to thank all the people who drove in the race and all the people who've been a part of this league this season, and the broadcasters. And I just hope Talladega will be a good, fun finale.
For sure it will. We look forward to watching it, and we will see you in the next one, Lilac. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That was our winner tonight, Lilac Zier. And David, you have updated points for us as we look into the final round. What do they look like?
Certainly do. Lilacs there with a 10-point advantage over Harry Wills there, 255 over 245, but still way too close to call. Any one, I would say, of those top 5 drivers, I think, Kenny, well and truly in with a shout here.
Yeah, for sure. And it really will come down though to field size. And generally, though, a lot of times you will see larger fields at Daytona or Talladega because of the fact that really anybody's got a chance to win at those places. So we only have 14 cars sign up tonight. So really, if we have a similar field size, it would probably only be a 2-horse race between Zier and Wills. But if we see 20 plus, that'll bring some other drivers like Silman and Delano and possibly Timms and Howe into it as well. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, David. That was a great race. I would like to thank our friends at SIM3D, and thanks you guys at Absolute Sim Racing Network for having me on board to cover this series, WSL NASCAR Series US, and we look forward to the final round at Talladega. Again, I'm your host, Kenny Kibbe, with a co-host and director tonight, David Christie. We will see you guys and girls all in the next one. Have a good night.